Hello everybody, this is Albert with Green Tea House. I hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to talk about how you can mimic a professional tea tasting experience while at home with just a couple of accoutrements. Now before we begin, I highly recommend you check out our back catalog of episodes, in particular the fundamentals of tea. What is tea? What is a tisane or an herbal? What's a green tea? What's a black tea? What's an oolong? And so forth. And I'll make sure I put some banners up here of episodes that are germane to this topic. So I've talked about it. Casey and I are a very firm proponent of using all five senses when enjoying tea. And you think about like the dark ages for a lot of tea drinkers, and certainly I was no different, Casey was no different, where you would just get, grab from the pantry your chamomile tea or your Lipton green tea, you just get it out, put it in your hot water, and then throw it out and drink it. And only when you start experiencing the loose leaf tea phenomenon or world, do you realize how deprived we were from that experience that we went on 3 years. Because truly loose leaf tea, and it's not, I'm not biased because I sell loose leaf tea. I love loose leaf tea, that's why. But it's truly a multi-sensual experience. And so when we're drinking tea, we should use all five senses. So there are professional tea tasters. I mean, there's not as many in America. Certainly there's an American Tea Institute, and there's places in America that will put tea on that same level as wine. And there are a lot of similarities between wine and tea. I'd say probably the best similarity is pu'er, which is a type of fermented dark tea and wine, given that they're both fermented, wine and pu'er. But in the wine world, we know that to truly appreciate wine, what do? We swish it, we look at the color, we smell it, all the sommeliers and all these things like that. And it's no different with tea, but we've been so degraded by crap, sawdust fanning tea that we really don't know it. So if you want to kind of mimic what a professional tea taster does, you can do it at home. And so I'm going to explain to you how you can do it at home. And you really don't need a lot of stuff. Ideally, you want to go on, which is this. This is a very standard Chinese item. A lot of the Chinese drink their tea from these kind of things. They also might have their own specific kettle. In Japan, they use a kyusu. In China, they use their own kettle, which is escaping the name of it right at the top of my head, even though I have one. But a gowan is a cup for where they drink. So what do? You're going to put your tea leaves in a cup. Let's say, like here, I like to drink from this cup. And this cup I got from a thrift store, and I've had it for years, and I love this cup. I think it's really important when you're drinking tea to get mugs that have a white inside. Why? Because you can see the liqueur. When you're drinking from a mug that's dark, it really takes away, again, from the senses, the five senses, sight. Either way, you can just use a regular mug if you want. Put the tea leaves in your mug, and then put in whatever it is, oolong green, whatever, if you're drinking a tisane, whatever, put it in there. And then get the appropriate temperatured water. We have episodes here on what temperature you should use for whatever tea. And then put it in there. And average steepage, let's say, we're just going to say here it's 3 minutes. If you're doing like a Japanese green tea, maybe it'll be shorter, like 2 minutes. But let's just say whatever, 3 minutes. Cover it. If you don't have a gowan, which has a lid, that's fine. Just use something to cover it. And so while you're waiting, you open the lid or open whatever you're covering. See how the tea leaves are changing shape. The best example of this, I would tell you, are oolongs, because oolongs, which are my favorite tea, oolongs are wrapped really tight. They're rolled and wrapped really tight. And when they're put in hot water, the whole leaf opens up. So many of you guys have never seen a tea leaf, a full tea leaf. Your best chance of seeing them is going to be in oolongs. And we have an amazing oolong, Magnolia oolong. Oh my God. The taste, the smell, everything, and it opens up. So even though you put in like 5 or 6 of these oolong balls, so to speak, for lack of a better word, once you open it up, it's fully unfurled leaves. Anyways, so halfway through it, open it up and listen, just kind of listen, put your ears, right? Listen to the bubbling sound of the hot water interacting with the leaves. It's a great sense. Now, after 3 minutes or so, then you're going to get your cup, and then you have a couple options. With the gowan, they normally will hold the lid, open it a little, and pour it into tasting cups, small little tasting cups, and then from there, you can drink it. It's really up to you how you do it. Now, when you're pouring it over into a cup, The next sense you want to use is looking at the color. Now, I like to drink, in particular, my Japanese green teas, and this is a sencha. I like to drink in glass because I like to look at the color. And you can determine a lot about a tea by the smell, by the color. So going back, I should have mentioned this earlier, but when you put the tea leaves before you put the pot water, of course, smell tea leaves. Now, the problem with smelling tea leaves is that a lot of times, especially if you go to tea stores that are a little unscrupulous, that use flavor enhancers that they spray on and whatnot, we think that when you smell it, it's gonna taste like that. And many times it does, especially when you buy teas that are flavored. We did not that long ago an episode on dessert teas, and the dessert teas are notorious for this. That sugar cookie, chocolate chip, peanut butter flavored tea is just fake on so many levels. But either way, put your oolong, put your blue flower Earl Grey, whatever you have. Look at the leaves. Just look at the intricacy, how beautiful the leaves look. Smell the leaves. Then you put in the water, and then halfway through it, listen to it. Look at how the leaves are changing, and then when you're ready, pour it into your tasting cup. Once it's in the cup, again, smell it. Look at the vibrancy of the color. We call this the liqueur. Look at the liqueur of the tea with good quality green teas, especially if you're using either very little water or a lot of tea leaves. The color should be very vibrant. You know, matcha, for example, is probably the most famous with its true, like high quality matcha is gonna have almost like a fluorescently green color. But a good sencha is gonna have a good color to it. Look at it, look at the clarity. Sometimes, especially if you're using an infuser that is more open, it's not super tight netted, you will get some tea leaves, especially if you're drinking a sencha, because sencha is essentially finely cut long clippings, let's be real. You're gonna see stuff floating in there. That's totally fine. You can drink that. Right? People drink tea leaves all the time. You should get the expression, read the tea leaves. So then you look at it, smell it. When you drink it, make sure it covers the entire tongue, because some of you might not know, different parts of your tongue have the different taste buds. All of the taste buds, including umami. So when you drink it, try not to sip it too close to the front. Let it coat your entire tongue. And you'll notice in Asia too, they're not drinking tea this big. Their drinking cups are very small. You know, we have this like gigantic coffee mugs that we drink. And they'll drink it two hands, sip it, enjoy it, savor it, smell it, look at it. Look at the wet tea leaves. That's another thing. So when you have back in your cup, look at the wet tea leaves, smell the wet tea leaves. Of course, you can re-steep all the time. That's a big thing that we push here at Green Tea House. You can re-steep these leaves. And then when you are doing a professional tea test at home, you want to clean the palate. So if, let's say you do a sencha and next you're going to do something else, let's say an oolong or a black or a dark or an herbal, clean the palate. Probably the best way to clean the palate is, yes, you can just drink regular water, but almonds are a good way to clean your palate. If you have some nuts at home, eat that, and that will kind of wipe away whatever residue you have of the previous tea. You see this in the olden days between courses. They used to eat that kind of like gelato, sherbet thing between courses to clean the palate. No different with tea, and no different with wine as well. So with tea, I would maybe eat some almonds. If you don't have almonds, then drink some water, and then do the exact same thing. Grab a tea that's maybe on the other side of the oxidation gradient that you just drank from, rinse, lather, repeat. And when you do these things, you don't need a Gawan to do it, but when you do these things, and you do them daily, you're really going to start appreciating tea, the God-given great gift that tea is when you incorporate all five senses. Guys, I would also tell you this, wearing perfume or wearing cologne will affect how you smell the tea and how you taste the tea. We know that there's an intimate connection between smell and taste. So don't wear perfume and cologne. And we've talked about in a previous episode, store your tea in a pantry that does have no other spices. Do not store your dry tea in the refrigerator, because all these will corrupt the inherent and natural original flavors of these teas. Guys, post in the comments. I'd like to hear from you. Until next time, take care. God bless.